the center of this fresco, not at the crowd, not at the marble, not even at the famous philosophers. Look at one finger, a thin, almost casual gesture raised toward the ceiling. It is easy to miss because the painting is enormous. But Raphael placed it exactly where the whole world of the image seems to breathe. Why would Plato point upward inside the private rooms of a pope? And why does that tiny movement change the meaning of the entire painting? At first, the school of Athens feels like a celebration of human intelligence. Dozens of thinkers fill a vast hall. Some argue, some write, some teach, some turn away into their own thoughts. Everything looks balanced, calm, almost perfect. But the composition is not neutral. The architecture, the steps, the bodies, even the empty space between the arches guide our eyes to the same point, the two men in the center. And then, within that center, to Plato's raised hand. The gesture is simple. Plato lifts one finger toward the invisible world above him. Under his other arm, Raphael places a book, the Timaeus, one of Plato's most influential works. Beside him stands Aristotle, holding the Ethics, his hand lowered toward the world in front of him. But this video is not about their whole argument. It is about Plato's finger, because that finger turns the fresco from a gathering of famous minds into a map of two different ways of understanding reality. In Plato's philosophy, the visible world is not the final truth. What we touch, see, and measure is changeable. Behind it, he imagined a higher order, perfect forms, ideas, principles that do not decay. So when Raphael paints Plato pointing upward, the gesture is not theatrical decoration, it is a code. It tells us that this old philosopher is not asking us to look at the marble floor or the people around him. He is asking us to think beyond appearances. And that is where the mystery becomes stranger. This was not painted for a university. It was painted in the Vatican, in the Stanza della Segnatura, a room connected with Pope Julius II and the intellectual world of the papal court. On one wall was theology, on another, poetry, on another, justice, and here, philosophy. Raphael was still young when he was called to Rome, yet he was asked to decorate rooms that expressed nothing less than the structure of knowledge itself. So why place a pagan philosopher at the visual heart of this room? The answer is not that Raphael was secretly rejecting Christianity. The more powerful idea is almost the opposite. In the Renaissance, many thinkers believed ancient philosophy could lead the mind upward toward truth, order, and ultimately toward God. Plato's finger becomes a bridge. It belongs to a Greek philosopher, but in this papal space, it points into a Christian universe. Even the architecture helps build this bridge. The hall looks ancient, but it also resembles the grand new language of Renaissance Rome. The Vatican museums connect this architecture with Bramante's project for the rebuilding of St. Peter's. That means the philosophers are not standing in a random classical fantasy. They appear inside a space that feels like the future of Christian Rome. The finger points up, the building lifts with it. There is another layer, more uncertain but fascinating. According to a long tradition, Plato's face may have been modeled on Leonardo da Vinci. This is not something we can prove with absolute certainty, so it must remain an interpretation, but the idea is tempting. Leonardo was the Renaissance mind that refused to separate art, science, anatomy, optics, geometry, and nature. If Raphael did place Leonardo behind Plato's face, then the raised finger becomes even more charged. Ancient philosophy wearing the mask of modern genius. Now, return to the fresco and notice what the finger does to the scene. It does not shout. It does not dominate by size, yet it quietly divides the painting. Below it, bodies debate, write, calculate, and teach. Around it, the architecture creates perfect order. Above it, there is open light. The gesture says that knowledge begins in the world, but it does not have to end there. It can rise. That is why this small detail matters so much. Without Plato's raised finger, the school of Athens could be read as a brilliant group portrait of ancient thinkers. With it, the fresco becomes something deeper, a visual argument about where truth lives. Is truth above us, in eternal ideas? Is it here, in the world, we can study and touch? Or did Raphael believe the greatest wisdom comes from holding both possibilities together? Look again at that finger. Is it pointing to heaven, or is it pointing to the part of the painting we still do not fully understand?